Thank you for listening to the 118th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron. How are you? Nice job on that intro.
Oh, thanks. I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah. Remember when you used to read it off the page? Now you've just...
Feels like ages ago.
You've memorized it. You've just... look at your development.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well. Got to watch a nice little basketball W last night at your house.
The curse is gone. Producer Cameron's like, what?
Producer Cameron wasn't invited.
That was very much a last-minute thing.
Yes. I don't have Fox Sports 1, and that's where
good.
I checked like 30 minutes before the game. Like, yep, I got it. We're
It's
good.
all good. It's all good.
Anyway,
Awkward.
we've had some good news.
Yeah.
In the Mizzou world.
Yeah.
Football, basketball, things are going well.
Yeah.
It's exciting. We're gonna talk about all of it.
We have so much to talk about.
We have a few little news items.
Yeah.
Sprinkle in here.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac Thompson, safety, out of St. Louis. He will be committing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a big one. Isaac Thompson, St. Louis. I've definitely felt like Mizzou might play second fiddle to Michigan and this one for a really, really long time. But things are kind of imploding at Michigan currently. Is it Jim Harbaugh? John or Jim? I can't remember. I think it's John.
What?
It's Jim. It's John. One of those Harbaugh brothers is not going to be there much longer. And they're terrible. And I think that Mizzou might be gaining some momentum here in this one. We've had some crystal ball. Old Uncle Mo is at play here, and some crystal ball flips today. So
Jim Harbaugh's at Michigan.
thank you.
Do you know where John Harbaugh is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the old crystal ball over on 24/7 Sports, and the lead expert Mike Roach has projected a Mizzou commitment, and he is highly confident at an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
That's
Obviously that's great news. So we're gonna find out tomorrow, and by the time you're listening to this, it's gonna be today.
True.
But he's a 4-star safety, and I just think that makes sense. Obviously I'm a little biased, but it makes sense to stay home, play for the home state, and I mean we've got 2 safeties moving on this year that are seniors and probably have a pretty good chance to play at the next level. So playing time might be there.
Although there's a restaurant in Arkansas that seems to think Arkansas would be home.
Yeah.
For Mr. Thompson.
What was that? What did the sign say?
It said 4-star Isaac Thompson. This is home or something like that. Like, no, it's actually not.
It's like something you would see like if he was on a visit there.
Yeah.
Is he visiting Arkansas at the moment? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Well,
the day before his commitment, probably not. Unless, he could be pulling a Kelly Bryant.
Yeah.
And telling him no in person.
Yeah. Those Arkansas, those folks down there.
They're a different breed.
They are.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Other news item I have here is that LSU has a player that's decommitting from their recruiting class, and Mizzou might be in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, he's I didn't write down his name, but he's a 4-star outside linebacker. He's like top 200 player in the nation. LSU is like turning him away because they've over-recruited him. And so I saw Coach Drinkwitz liked his tweet that he decommitted.
Yeah, there were some Mizzou gifts in the replies to that as well.
His name is, drumroll please, Naquan Brown. So be on the lookout for that.
Come on down.
I'm pretty sure we just discussed this a few minutes ago, but Coach Drinkwitz made some kind of comment in an interview or a press conference recently about how they're maybe looking to flip some folks. So I thought that was a pretty candid comment.
Yeah.
That they're, which actually grew, it had a little bit of criticism from non-Mizzou people that it was shady business, like their team doesn't do it.
Right.
But so
I feel like it's always been like a coach thing that like they would publicly say like, oh, you don't talk to a guy after he's committed, But like, okay,
Maybe you could say
false.
that for after they've signed,
Sure.
but a verbal commitment, doesn't mean much.
Yeah. I would rather, I don't know. I mean, if it was, I don't know. If it was who? If it was another SEC coach saying this, then yeah, I'd probably be like, oh, I don't like that. I'm trying to be honest here,
Yeah. So slimy.
but it's, I would like to think I could come around to the fact that he's just being honest, and
Right.
everybody does this, and
It's-
it's been common knowledge for a very long time.
It's part of the business.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he specifically said something like, yeah, maybe like put a bug in their ear and just see where it goes, see if anything takes off from that. Like, all right, yeah.
Cool. I like the sound of that.
Other coaches though, stay away from
Yes,
our commits.
absolutely.
Don't even think about it. These slime balls. That's all for news, I think, and that's a good thing because we have a lot to get to. And we'll start off with a blowout, a shutout. Mizzou beat Vanderbilt 41-0.
Just as we predicted.
I was mad watching this game a little bit. I kind of got annoyed that we're in a position as Mizzou fans when 0-7 miserable Vanderbilt comes along. I was upset that we couldn't count on it being a blowout. You follow me? We follow my logic there?
I mean, yeah, but we talked about it last week or whenever we talked about it,
Yeah.
that our preview of Vanderbilt last year, we didn't preview them. So we had that mindset a year ago, and it didn't quite work out so well.
But
We've learned.
Yeah. But I don't want to have ever learned that lesson.
Okay.
I want to be in a position where you don't even have to think about.
Not very many teams are in that position.
But with
Against,
Vanderbilt,
I mean, Vanderbilt had some pretty decent performances recently. They didn't win, but they held their own against Florida, who's a top 10 team in the first half. They led for the majority of the first half. That's pretty significant for Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it. They were within 5 against Texas A&M. It was a top 5 team right now. So
Fraud.
they're
Fraud.
fraudulent, but it's still they've proved that they can hang around with teams that are clearly good. And I'm thinking, well, Mizzou's offense hasn't looked very good recently, so I felt like there was every reason in the world to believe that this could end up being a pretty close game. And I think that there are some factors at play behind the scenes with Vanderbilt going on. Obviously, their coach Derek Mason is now not employed. They've had some weird stuff going on this week, like reports of players like revolting and stuff. Like they just got some weird stuff going on. And so I know Vanderbilt is not a good team, but I think they were way worse than they even typically are last week, just because of all the stuff they've got going on.
Mizzou looked good.
Yeah, they did.
Especially defense, obviously. When you hold a team to 0 points, that's always good. I'll run through some stats real quick. Connor Bazelak was 30 for 37 passing for 318 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Larry Roundtree, 21 carries, 160 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Amazing performance. Tyler Beatty, 5 carries for 18 yards and a touchdown, 7 receptions for 102 yards. I want him on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
PPR all the way.
of course.
Kiki Chisholm, 5 receptions for 67 yards, back-to-back weeks for him with over 50 yards. And Towski Dove, 8 receptions, 62 yards. So the offense was rolling.
Mhm.
I mean,
Pretty much like right off the bat too.
I don't know if I've ever seen an easier scoring drive, aside from like a one-play drive, than Missouri's first offensive possession.
Yeah.
They just moved the ball down the field with ease, and Larry Roundtree basically just walked into the end zone.
Yeah, I felt very good about any concern I had after that first drive. And they really did actually kind of stall for a little bit there in that first half, but obviously that didn't last for long. But yeah, that first drive, they just strolled right down the field, and I felt much better about the game.
Yeah, the next 2 drives for the offense ended in a missed field goal and then a failed 4th and 3 attempt. So, yeah, I was kind of like they were moving the ball, and then you're exactly what you said. They just stalled out. And that was kind of frustrating, where I was like, okay, this should easily be 14-0,
Mhm.
maybe 17, maybe 21-0
Mhm.
already.
Yeah.
It eventually got there, though, because their next two drives both went for touchdowns. So they did take a 21-0 lead into halftime. And this whole time, the defense is just destroying Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, second game in a row for Mizzou's defense for the first possession of the game to be a turnover on downs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
I really liked how they used Roundtree and Beatty in this game. Like, it felt like how I envisioned it before the season started. That like Larry Roundtree would, get most of the carries on the ground, and Tyler Beatty would hopefully be targeted, 5+ times in a game. Because why not?
Yeah.
But obviously you can kind of do whatever you want against a terrible and spiraling Vanderbilt team. But that was definitely how I hoped they would use those two guys.
Yeah, if you told me before the season that there's going to be a game where Larry Roundtree has 160 yards rushing and Tyler Beatty has over 100 yards receiving, I'm just imagining, near perfection like what we got in this game. Tyler Beatty, I just can't overstate that kind of offensive versatility and getting that kind of receiving line from your backfield. That's just not something that teams are doing all the time, even against a weak opponent.
They run that wheel route so well with him.
The timing is right there, and it's just
somehow
easy.
always
it's just
open.
An easy read. I mean, if the linebacker goes with him, then probably somebody's going to be open in the middle of the field.
Yeah, or he's just going to outrun the linebacker.
True. Yeah. Love it. Let's see here. Vanderbilt's offense on the game, 103 passing yards, and as a team, they averaged 2.3 yards per carry. Nick Bolton, of course, was a factor. 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, one of those being a sack. Harrison Mevis was 2 for 3 on field goal attempts. Speaking of kickers, because it was such a blowout, the biggest story of the game ended up being Vanderbilt kicker Sarah Fuller.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's nothing we could possibly say on this topic that hasn't already been said a million times, but cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see. When the game was out of reach, I kind of wanted to see her get a chance to kick a field goal or something like that. I actually remember thinking about tweeting this before the game, but I didn't. I didn't want to seem too critical or something, but I thought about saying I kind of hope she doesn't get a chance because I want to blow them out.
Yeah.
And then we actually did. And then I kind of felt bad after the game, like, hey, I kind of wish you would have had a chance.
Yeah.
But
I was actually thinking kind of opposite. I wanted to get a chance, and I wish Vanderbilt maybe would score a little bit. As much as I love a shutout, I don't know. I kind of wanted the first-team offense to stay out there and keep putting up numbers. I like those stats and records and stuff. I wanted to see Larry Roundtree go for 200 yards and that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, Vanderbilt, you can do a little bit on offense so that we have to keep scoring.
Yeah. In this game, total yards, Missouri 605, Vanderbilt 184.
That's insane.
That is insane.
That's pretty wild.
Sometimes, I feel like, Missouri's had those games this year where they outgain the opponent by a lot, but the score doesn't really show it.
Yeah.
But that was very much not the case in this game.
And like I said earlier, this easily could have. Well, they would have, maybe brought the backups in a little bit earlier if they would have scored on their first 5 possessions. But they could have jumped out to a pretty insane lead with just a couple more plays being executed in the first half on offense.
Yeah, speaking of backups, that was an exciting thing to watch in this game. Was so many new faces got playing time and play well. Obviously, Elijah Young is one that comes to mind. He looked good. That gave me comfort for next year when Larry Roundtree is most likely moving on to other opportunities. I think we're in good hands in the running back room for sure.
Yeah. Brady Cook came in.
Yeah,
threw a touchdown pass.
Beautiful pass.
Interesting that he was throwing to Damon Hazelton in that situation.
That was a little odd, considering what we thought Hazelton was going to be.
Yeah.
And, But, I guess good to see. That was his first touchdown of the year, Hazelton.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Brady Cook, obviously extremely limited snaps against probably a Vanderbilt team that's just ready to give up and go home. But it was a really nice-looking pass.
So, jump in if you have any other specific things about the game, but I just want to talk about Derek Mason getting fired a little bit. Man, that's a tough way to go out. Just, especially, in last year and a few years here recently where it looked like maybe there was something happening with that program, and to just go completely flat this year, and with all the COVID stuff and scheduling changes and, short weeks to game plan and stuff like that. I said before the season even started, I can't imagine getting fired after this type of season where there's just so much uncertainty everywhere and such a weird college football season. But that hasn't stopped a few athletic directors, 2 already in the SEC with South Carolina and now Vanderbilt, 2 in the SEC East. I would have I wouldn't have ever predicted that going into this season.
Yeah, I think I even said something on our Vanderbilt preview, like Vanderbilt's probably not even that bad of a coaching job because you don't even have to be that great, and you probably get a lot longer leash than you would other places. So that was freezing cold takes exposed right there.
Well,
but
some might argue that he's had a leash.
It's like a terrible place to coach in some ways because you will probably always not succeed. You'll probably very few people will succeed there, and very few people have the support of the administration there. I feel like they don't want to focus on football for whatever reason. They're in the SEC. It seems like ludicrous to not want and try and maximize that opportunity, but for whatever reason, it seems like the football coach never quite has the full support from the athletic department, and so a lot of those things would make it a really tough place to coach. But you probably do have a little bit longer leash than other places, though. So, but it seemed like Derek Mason was a great guy, probably a coach that players really enjoyed playing for. So I'm sure he'll have a lot of opportunities as a head coach other places or as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, honestly, I could see him being very successful at another stop because
he's been very successful in the past.
Yeah, and I can just imagine, like, if it was a smaller school that was more dedicated to their football program and, kind of have some kind of established culture, I feel like he'll be able to thrive. Yeah. And I would be pretty surprised. And maybe he does like a coordinator stop for a season at a more prominent school, but I would be surprised if he's not a head coach again in the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just kind of, I mean, when I was kind of organizing my notes, I was kind of just glossing over the defensive effort because it was just so
dominant.
Yeah. And just kind of made, it's what you want when you have the lead late in a game. It just kind of became a little bit boring.
Yeah.
It just shutting them down no matter what they tried to do.
Yeah. It's almost less to talk about whenever there's such a dominant win like this. It's like, well, everybody did their job really, really well.
Right. Yeah. Everybody looked good all across the field. Seemed like the game plans were excellent. And I'm just thankful that Thanksgiving was last week, I know, but I'm thankful that when you have an opportunity with a team that's struggling, and maybe if you get out to a hot start, they might fold, and you want to see if that's what's going to happen. And I think that's exactly what happened. And I even saw with Mizzou's social media stuff that they put out like a little mini movie of the week, and in the halftime locker room, Coach Drinkwitz was saying, like, this is not over. We have a second half to go finish the job here. Mm-hmm. And he even used the phrase, keep your foot on their neck.
Oh.
So.
Wow. And they did that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what good teams do. They beat teams that are worse than them, and that's absolutely what Mizzou did in this game. And, I mean, sometimes it's just good to see them just destroy somebody. Just go out there and be way better than the other team, and that was nice to see.
So Mizzou now has a winning record in football, which I didn't predict at the beginning of the season. They've already surpassed the number of wins I predicted. And you had them at 5 wins, which is looking definitely possible, if not probable, if not likely.
Yeah.
At this point, especially if they Do you know, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but with the schedule, I've heard that Missouri is going to be playing either Georgia or Mississippi State on December 12th.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard and then the other one the next week.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
I wonder,
it's so much up in the air. I'm just assuming that's the case, though.
Yeah. But it kind of worries me. I don't know. Part of me is like, well, yeah, give us Mississippi State on the 5th, and then we'll just, or not the 5th.
And we'll just end the season right there.
Give us Mississippi State on the 12th, and then, sorry, Georgia couldn't make it work out this year. We'll see you next season.
Honestly, okay. I think that we could compete with Georgia this year.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I'm not saying we would win, but
We
normally
want
I just write that game
We
off as
want
certain
Georgia.
loss. Let's just get it over with.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'd feel that way this year. I'm not sure I'd feel great about it either, but I think they're a little more vulnerable this year than they might be in a normal year.
Kyle wants Georgia. Let it be known. I was thinking, let's just beat Arkansas, beat Mississippi State.
Yeah.
6-3 season.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel after this week.
Yeah. This week, perfect segue. Got a matchup against Arkansas. Is it a rivalry?
I think it is. If you would ask me that question last year, which you probably did, I'd probably been like, seems kind of forced.
Yeah.
And
It's a nice trophy.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
It is.
Like they change
It's
out
very large.
Change out the line, like the border line.
Yeah.
Gold or red.
Yeah. I definitely feel like it's more of a rivalry than it probably ever has been. I mean,
Storylines
galore.
Oh yeah.
And it is exciting.
Yes.
It makes me feel things
Oh yeah.
that I haven't felt in a while.
I want to beat Arkansas bad.
Oh man, I want to beat them. And it's like every week, it's like I'm a Mizzou fan. I want to win.
Yeah.
I like to win. I hate to lose. But this just feels different.
Oh,
It almost feels a little bit like those old games against Kansas or something like that. Like I'm going through the week just thinking about it. Like, man, I can't wait for Saturday.
So is the number one storyline in your mind Barry Odom?
I guess, yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Barry Odom versus his old team literally his old team. Barry Odom versus some of his old staff.
Yeah.
Old players.
Yeah.
It's a weird vibe, and I feel like everybody said the right things in the interviews this week and stuff from Mizzou's side, and they said, oh, we respect Barry Odom. He gave me a shot here, and obviously as a person, I love the guy, and but we're gonna win.
Yeah.
we got to do our best to win.
Yeah, I was happy with everything the Mizzou players said in any of the interviews that I saw.
Yeah, I think Martez Manuel made a really good comment that I thought was really cool about, same thing. I respect Coach Odom. He gave me a shot here, but we're going to prepare like this is the Super Bowl, and it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
You're getting giddy, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm already there. Yeah.
My take on it before the season even started with him at Arkansas was I hope they lose every game 3-0.
Yeah.
I hope his defense is good, but they lose every game.
You still got to appreciate Barry Odom. I want to win this game more than anything else on the schedule, but I still like the guy. He helped stabilize the program, and he did some. We had some good moments when he was here, and obviously a Mizzou guy. So
how much would the rivalry lose its luster for you personally when he is no longer at Arkansas?
I think that it would still keep some steam for sure. A lot of it, honestly, and maybe this would not be the case if Arkansas goes back to irrelevancy, but they're a little bit better than they thought they were going to be this year, and Coach Pittman has been more successful than probably most people thought. And
more successful than I thought. That's
one
for sure.
thing, yeah, me too. One thing that's kind of thrown some fuel on the fire this week is Arkansas social media. Getting a little getting some big heads over there, and not only the actual verified Arkansas social media, but just all the fans, and they're kind of starting to forget about what happened the last 4 years, and we can't forget about what happened the last 4 years.
Well, and it's one thing for the fans and the fan accounts and the Barstool Arkansas Twitter account, whatever.
Yeah.
But then when the actual so. This is a topic I needed to go through with you a little bit. We got to unpack a few things. So what we're referencing is the Arkansas official Twitter account was making light of Nick Bolton for some dumb reason. Why they would pick a fight with him, I have no idea.
Well, he said that in his interviews or something earlier this week, he feels like he's the baddest SOB on the field.
Yeah.
And which is true.
Yes, and that's the mindset that every player should have, basically, and he backs it up as well as any player possibly could.
Yeah.
So then the Arkansas social media team posted a graphic of their linebackers.
Which they have some great linebackers.
Yes. I wrote that down specifically. Grant Morgan, very good, over 100 tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And it referred to their linebackers as the baddest guys on the field.
Baddest players on the field, yeah.
And that's so weird to me. And this is a little bit off topic, but stick with me here.
Okay.
After the Mizzou win over Vanderbilt, the Mizzou official social media team posted a short video of a Mizzou glove going from, I guess, Vanderbilt does a hand symbol with like 2 fingers and a thumb, down to 1 finger and a thumb for an L.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, that's a little brazen for the official social media. Like,
considering
this was a
Vanderbilt sucks. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Like, well, what brought this about? Like, I don't remember rumming it in really to any of the other teams we beat this year.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of an easy thing, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was like.
But it was like high production value.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That
was planned.
Yes, that was a little odd to me.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas comes with this effort by their social media team. I guess they're just getting feisty over there. Social media teams in general just looking for trying to stir up some trouble.
Well, you can bet Nick Bolton saw it because if you're not on Twitter, by the way, you need to be on Twitter because it's great. I mean, why wouldn't you just want to get constant news updates every day, all day? And you can follow us on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod. But anyways, Nick Bolton responds to their tweet, says LOL at the caption, see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
And Eli Drinkwitz, in an interview earlier in the week, he literally asked, not knowing that this was going to happen with the Arkansas thing, he asked the interviewers something to the effect of, can you do anything to make Nick Bolton mad? Because I want him to get fired up. Not that he needs it. He was kind of, he was making a joke out of it, but he was like, insult Nick Bolton a little bit. Get him fired up because we want to see him angry.
Like, okay.
And then, I guess Arkansas social media team heard that and thought it was a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but that was, I mean, of all people, I don't understand what they're thinking, but we'll gladly take it.
Yeah. Oh, man, I hope he destroys them.
I mean, I love that they did that because it's just making this game, the build up to this game, so much more fun, and that's just what makes sports in general fun. I want to feel this feeling. I want to feel like I hate somebody. It's just so fun, and but if we lose, then it's gonna be terrible.
Oh yeah.
But if we win, that sweet, sweet victory it's gonna be nice.
Well, let's talk about Arkansas a little bit. They, like we alluded to, have surprised a few people. They definitely surprised. Then number 16 in the country, Mississippi State. Talk about a fraudulent ranking.
Yeah.
Then they beat later in the season Ole Miss, so they're really taking it out on the state of Mississippi. And then they beat Tennessee, which talk about a game I wish Missouri could redo, the Tennessee game. So they're 3-5, and they did have decently close losses to Auburn. They only lost by 2. A&M, they lost by 11. And LSU, most recently, they only lost by 3. So they've looked okay in some games. Got blown out, of course, by Florida and Georgia. But, they've surprised me for sure.
Yeah.
And they've been able to get a few wins here. I honestly thought, 2-win team.
Yeah, honestly, they're the team that I thought they could hope to be maybe in a year or two because I think we all knew Barry Odom was going to get this defense on the right track eventually. I just don't think we thought they would be borderline dominant like they've been. They have an excellent defense, and they've kind of just gotten some random dudes to be like all SEC linebackers. So
that's not the first time he's done that.
Yeah, Barry Odom's done an incredible job on the defensive side. Their offensive game is not quite as threatening, but.
Well, I was actually looking up their stats, and Felipe Franks, who we've said before, I mean, the best way to describe him is not scary.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of been the punchline of some jokes for a couple of years.
He is completing 68% of his passes. He's got 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. So they're not asking him to do a whole lot, and that's kind of the role he needs. I think he was always leaned on a little too much at Florida, and he couldn't be the guy. I mean, nobody knew that Kyle Trask was going to do what he was going to do, but that's what Florida needed, the past few years to get them over the hump to be a top 5 team.
Yeah.
But Felipe Frank's serviceable. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was kind of looking at some recent box scores for Arkansas, and I noticed that Felipe Franks was their leading, at least in attempts, leading rusher last week or two weeks ago, the most recent game. Yeah. And I don't believe Rakeem Boyd played in that game.
He did not play, and he has now opted out of the rest of the season to get ready for the NFL.
Great for opposing defenses.
Yes. However, they do have a junior running back. His name is Traylon Smith. Yeah. Who actually
he had like an 83-yard touchdown run in one of their most recent games. Yeah. But Felipe Franks ran the ball 14 times. So, I mean, clearly that's something he feels comfortable doing. I don't know how great he is at it, but that's something he will do.
Yeah. The running back Smith already had, with Boyd not playing against LSU, Smith now has more attempts and yards and a better yards per carry than Boyd did. And Felipe Franks actually has more carries than either one of them. 92 carries for 229 yards.
That seems not
and one
efficient.
Rushing touchdown. No, 2.5 yards per carry.
We did have one running back commit last recruiting cycle whose name escapes me at the moment, but he flipped to Arkansas on signing day. I thought we might get a chance to see him after the Rakeem Boyd news, but I don't think he's played at all this year. So somebody will know his name out there. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Looking through the receivers, there's nothing too terribly scary. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with at least 15 receptions on the season. So they're spreading the ball around quite a bit. Treylon Burks is the top guy there with 39 receptions, 600 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So I think basically all I have to say about Arkansas is they have surprised me this year on both sides of the ball, honestly. And I don't know. I am looking forward to a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has the potential to be a fantastic game. I think the teams are pretty evenly matched. Both great defenses, both with maybe a little bit more anemic offenses at times. So it could be a fantastic game. I hope Mizzou just blows them out, but if it's a close game, I'm sure that would be really entertaining too.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing Mizzou favored by 2.5 points.
That sounds about right.
A couple places have it at 3.
We do get to play a Barry Odom team coming off a bye, so bye week Barry.
Well, forget it all then. This is
easy win.
Yep, automatic.
Yeah, Barry was historically bad off a bye whenever he was at Mizzou. That was honestly one of the first things that came to mind was when I was thinking about weighing the pros and cons about whether or not he deserved another year. That was one of the things at the top of the list for me for cons was what are you doing? Yeah. On bye weeks? Why are we not only not good but awful?
First games of the season, bye weeks, bowl games.
Anytime with time to prepare, they were awful.
But he's not the head coach in Arkansas. So maybe that's all the difference he needed. Yeah, Mizzou, when you look at, ESPN's just got this little snapshot of the last 5 games. And seeing 4 wins in Missouri's last 5 games, that is a pretty thing to see. I hope it continues. There's a decent chance here to be 6-3. I don't look at, but that's a lie. I love looking ahead.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
There's a decent chance though they're 6-3 with a matchup with Georgia.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I've seen all the debates on Twitter this week about who's the better program and Mizzou having a 4-year streak and all that stuff. And the argument is always well, we were historically bad. well, yeah, you were. What's your point?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good. I mean, it's that
Right.
I don't know. Why would you boast to that?
You were really bad. Oh,
Like,
never mind. Then.
Yeah, you were terrible. Like,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
suck.
never mind. You're not bad because you were bad.
Like, yeah, but that's always the first argument. So don't let anybody don't let anybody successfully use that argument on you on Twitter. All you Mizzou Twitter out there, we love you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Stick with those, rational arguments, and you'll be okay.
Stick with the facts.
Yes. Yeah, all you have to do is say 4-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 4-win streak, something like that.
That's yep. Don't let
There's
anybody.
no comeback for that.
There's no belittling that argument.
Right. They gonna make it 5 in a row, Kyle?
I think they are. I think it's going to be stressful. I think it's going to be frustrating. But I think we're gonna come out with a win, and I think it's going to be 24-20, Mizzou.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a score I would have said. Man. I'm definitely predicting a win. You can basically count me as a win against Arkansas for the foreseeable future. I say the defense really shows up. And I'm not scared of Felipe Franks. I think Nick Bolton's gonna feast.
Ooh. How sweet would that be if he has I don't know, has some big plays in this game. He always does. Yeah. But that's gonna be even more sweeter than normal.
I think Nick Bolton's gonna get an interception in this game. Ooh. I think he's missing that on his resume for this season.
Might be right.
So give me Mizzou 27-17.
Okay. I just can't wait for that clapback on Twitter, whatever it's going to be by the Mizzou Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to say boom when something good happens. And if you know, you know.
All right, you ready to talk about some basketball?
I'm ready.
Oh, sorry. We got to pick some games.
Yes, we do.
We are going to talk about basketball.
Yes, we are.
Stick around.
Stick around.
There's some good basketball to talk
about. This will be
about.
a terrible segment, but stick around.
No, this is going to be great. I'm mounting my comeback right now.
Yes.
All right, just like for the past 3 or 4 weeks, Cameron is down by 2 points. You guys both gained 6 this week. Kyle has 45. Cameron has 43.
We were both a perfect 6-0. Picked a bunch of easy games.
Yeah.
Game 1, number 5 Texas A&M at Auburn.
Oh God.
Texas A&M is a 6.5 point favorite.
Wow, that tells you something right there. Vegas knows they're frauds, and it's at Auburn. Give me Texas A&M. I'll put the pressure on Kyle. Don't make it another boring week.
Are there any other close games after that?
Don't tell them.
Don't. You don't have to say who it is. Just a simple yes or no will suffice.
Yes.
Okay. Give me A&M.
What a chicken.
All right. Game number 2, number 6 Florida at Tennessee. Florida is a 17.5 point favorite.
Florida by a million.
Florida.
Game number 3, Vanderbilt at number 8 Georgia.
Oh no, that's a good one.
Guess that spread.
34.
28.
35.5.
Wow.
Yeah, Georgia by a million.
Yeah, I'll take Georgia by 28.
South Carolina at Kentucky. Kentucky is an 11.5 point favorite.
11.5.
Yeah, give me Kentucky easy.
Yeah, give me Kentucky, but I think that might actually be a close game.
Number 1, Alabama at LSU.
Bama.
Man, that just doesn't have the same kind of
No.
spark that it normally does.
No.
29.5 point favorite.
Oh my gosh. LSU covers that. That sounds like free money. Right? There's no Alabama's not going to beat them by 30.
Probably. I agree.
They might want to.
Yeah.
Kick them while they're down.
Lou Saban's been out a little while. He's back on the sideline, ready to go. Yeah, Alabama's
just fine without him.
True.
And the last game,
Nebraska.
Nebraska at Purdue.
Ooh, Rondell
Purdue
Moore
is a 1.5 point favorite.
I want Purdue. Sorry.
Where is it at?
Purdue.
And they're favored by what?
1.5.
I actually know a player on Purdue, which means they're easily going to win if they actually have a notable player.
Yeah.
Give me Nebraska.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Looks like you're gonna be down by 3 next week.
Not a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, me and producer Cam are going to be besties after this episode. I've earned brownie points.
Literally last week we made a joke out of the fact 2 weeks ago we made a joke out of the fact that we were going to both pick Illinois.
Yeah.
It's always a joke. It's always a joke.
And it worked out really well.
Yes.
Luckily for you guys, we didn't pick the week that Nebraska won. So
Wow.
Who did they even beat? Who could they
Penn
possibly
State.
beat?
Oh,
Penn
yeah?
State's
Jeez.
awful.
Wow, they are.
You guys
Crazy.
wouldn't have picked that.
We
though.
probably wouldn't have because it was
No.
early on, right?
No, it's
Penn
like
State was already a disappointment
okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
James Franklin maybe back to Vanderbilt. That'd be wild.
He just goes back down the chain.
Yeah. And then
They want him gone. You know
he
they
has
do.
like 4 10-win seasons, and then they hire him back at Penn State. Ready to talk some basketball.
I'm ready.
Missouri's now 2-0. We talked about that easy win against Oral Roberts. We previewed a game against Boston College that didn't happen. Wasn't much of a preview though, so you didn't miss a whole lot. So we didn't get a chance to preview Oregon, but if we had, we would have said Dana Altman's a good coach.
Mhm.
Oregon's really good program, and Missouri's probably going to lose.
Mhm.
It's being played in Omaha. That doesn't really factor in, but yeah, I definitely went into this game thinking Missouri was going to lose. Thank you again. Never mind, I won't mention that, but we watched it at Kyle's house.
Hannah made an Oreo tower too. Man, it was.
Yeah, she just like brought Oreos in and just like sat them
They're
there.
a
like,
literal like pyramid of Oreos. Oh my gosh.
We're not supposed to be talking about that.
And it sounds like you guys had a great time.
We did.
Happy for you.
It was a great win.
We'll make sure you're there next time.
I was busy.
Can you salvage this in this transition into basketball talk?
Yeah, I was gonna say something about basketball.
Oh, thanks.
I have forgotten what I was gonna say. Oh, I remember. I heard that Mizzou was looking for a couple games since they had some games canceled. I definitely did not expect it to be against a top 25 team on a neutral floor. So I was really pleasantly surprised about hearing that they were going to play Oregon. Yeah, they lost Peyton Pritchard. Is that his name?
Yeah.
From last year, like Pac-12 Player of the Year caliber player. He was a first-round pick in the NBA draft. So obviously we knew they had some production that they needed to replace, and it was their first game of the year. So we knew that we kind of had those things going for us, that they maybe didn't quite know who they were as a team yet, and they had a couple of transfers who were looking for immediate eligibility and had not gotten it as of last night. But one of them was cleared today, so pretty good timing.
Yeah.
For that. And they had a starter out as well.
Right. I think that was Will Richardson, who was out for the game, who, typically would have been starting. And this was their first game of the season. So they were actually kind of desperate to find an opponent. And so maybe some things kind of all came together to make Oregon a little bit weaker than they will be, definitely weaker than they will be later on in the season.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night. Like, well, this is the fun thing about college basketball is all the analytics involved and everything is you beat a team and then you root for them the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Because they make you look better. And I really think that that's something Oregon could do. They're going to get those pieces back and add that transfer in. And I think they have another chance to be a strong player in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and easy team for Mizzou fans to root for.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
A conference you'll never see the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And maybe, we can only hope that we would potentially see them in Indianapolis.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, that's a quad one win for sure. And that'll look great on our resume, assuming we get to that point of the season.
So how'd they do it? Started off hot, 3-point shooting, Mark Smith, Xavier Pinson getting it done from long range. Missouri ended up shooting 31 threes. They definitely cooled down towards the end of the first half. They just, at some point there in the first half, they went on an 18-3 run, but then they, I think, missed.
They missed like 15 shots in a row.
Yeah, I was going to say like between 15 and 20 shots from the field in a row.
Yeah.
To close out the first half and the beginning of the second half. And got a little worried at that point.
As we always do.
Yes. And then got worried again a little bit later towards the end of the second half when Oregon had a little bit of a comeback attempt. but Missouri just kind of always had an answer for it.
Yeah.
And there was a crucial play. We're skipping way late into the game here, but there was a crucial play, in my opinion, where I think Missouri was only up by 6 or 8, and Drew Smith had the ball at the top of the key, and he was just kind of trying to figure out what to do.
Shot clock was running out.
Yeah, kind of trying to look for something. Looked like maybe he could pass it to the wing. Maybe he was trying to get an entry pass, and the defense just kind of fell asleep. He just drove right around him for a layup.
Yeah.
And that was maybe the clock went under 2 minutes.
Yeah, I
at
think it was
that
around
point,
the 2 minute.
and extended the lead back out to a much more comfortable place. I think made it a 3-possession game, and then Missouri just held on for the win.
Yeah.
Xavier Pinson made some free throws down the stretch. They even withstood a Drew Smith missed dunk / layup.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
was
could
thinking
tell he
surely
was
that'll
like-
come back to haunt us.
Yeah, honestly. I felt like he maybe was like, okay, I've had a few of these breakaways, and I want to dunk the ball.
Yeah, he wanted to dunk.
And
Then
just-
decided not to halfway through.
yeah, you could tell it wasn't natural for him to try to just go up and slam it. And there was a defender, giving chase, but yeah, that didn't look very pretty. That was a turnover. Well, it was a missed shot, but it should have been 2 points.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Somehow, Drew Smith, though, I said last night when we were watching the game, he has almost perfect instincts defensively.
Oh man, he was so pesky. In those passes, last night. I mean, he was just picking stuff off and deflecting passes and everything.
He was making every pass challenging without overplaying and losing position, which that's an impossible ask.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You have kind of guys that take risks and make plays, but also get burned sometimes, and you have guys that just kind of stay back and keep everything in front of them, and he just somehow is able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And then he still provides a little bit on the offensive end and just plays under control. The fast break layup that he actually completed, he was just so good at getting his body between the defender and the ball, and he just kind of softly laid it in a way that it was never going to get blocked.
Yeah. He's such a high floor player where he kind of struggled last night and almost fouled out, and but it didn't really matter. And I kind of feel like last night might be the worst performance we see from him all year. He didn't score. He had 7 points or something like that, and he still did show up in the clutch like you mentioned, but he really did struggle a little bit offensively and struggled with the fouls and all that stuff, and some of those were questionable calls, but he's just the guy that's always going to be there even when he struggles.
Still played 31 minutes and led the team with 4 assists.
Yeah.
Which that was a stat I love to see. 17 assists to only 7 turnovers.
Yeah.
I think I saw that was the second fewest that a Konzo Martin-led Mizzou team has had. So
yeah, that's definitely been a thorn in their side the whole time he's been here.
Yeah, I think they had 17 turnovers against Oral Roberts, which isn't awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a huge percentage of their possessions because they played with a little bit of pace. I was also looking at the KenPom tempo numbers, and it's kind of, first of all, it's a testament to it's the beginning of the season still. These numbers will kind of settle down, but also the way college basketball has progressed in the last 15 years. After 2 games, Missouri's tempo on KenPom is the second highest, dating back all the way through the Mike Anderson era.
Oh, wow.
So Mike Anderson's first team had a higher tempo. That's the only one that is higher than this current Mizzou team after 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense, and honestly, I feel like their performance last night kind of just checked all of the boxes of things that we wanted to see and things that we said they would need to do to be successful when we talked about them in our preview. And one of those things is just attacking on offense and playing more up tempo. And sometimes they would just play so slowly on offense in the past, and it just seems like it's so hard to get things going sometimes when it looks like they feel like they have to get everybody involved, and they don't take advantage of turnover situations and stuff like that. But they were just looking to attack all night last night,
Yeah.
and they shot really well, which is
Yeah.
something that we said they obviously needed to improve on.
Yeah, Oregon, I mean, started going to that kind of three-quarter court trapping. It was a pressure defense, but it was really just to slow Missouri down a little bit.
Yeah.
Make them use some clock, which kind of worked out in that Missouri had a lead and they could afford to burn some clock. But when Oregon was actually amping up the pressure and trying to force turnovers and stuff, Missouri was finding Xavier Pinson was excellent at breaking the press, and Javon Pickett was the recipient of just some easy, okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, they were like getting the ball to the middle of the floor and like not making dangerous passes. And yeah, like you said, Javon Pickett was the beneficiary of some really easy buckets.
I feel like it's nice having 6'10" Mitchell Smith, who is pretty sure-handed in that situation where he's just kind of in the middle of the floor, where
Good
has
passer.
like kind of a safety valve.
Yeah, that's definitely been an Achilles heel for Mizzou in the past as well. So it was good to see them handle the press. I mean, it was almost
that's
like
probably part of the motivation of having 3 true point guards on your team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, Drew Buggs, at least 2 games through the season, has pretty much been exactly what we thought he was going to be. You know, he's not really a scoring threat, but he's a great ball handler, and he's a great passer. Like, he just has an incredible vision where he just makes these passes that I wouldn't really I feel like you just don't normally see a player make some of the passes he makes where he just gets it to a player that I'm not even really thinking is involved in the play. And
there was plenty of that. I mean, from him, Xavier Pinson, Drew Smith, they were all finding guys that were just wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I don't know if maybe Oregon's defense just didn't really come to play and weren't closing out and were kind of losing guys.
It did feel like Mizzou wanted it more, at least early on in the game. They were playing hard.
Yeah. They were out-rebounding Oregon early, fighting for loose balls. It seemed like there was a lot of random loose balls in this game, like bouncing off guys' hands.
Yeah, just like, grab the ball, please.
Yeah, for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was constant. We got to talk about a guy by the name of Eugene Omori. I can't do it.
Excuse me? The Oregon guy who
yes.
scored like 30 points?
I literally typed out the pronunciation of his last name and then deleted it and redid my notes and forgot to bring that through.
Yeah, he was single-handedly like carrying them. And what is he, a transfer from Rutgers?
Yes.
Was this his first game with Oregon?
Yes.
That's a pretty good start.
Yeah. 31 points, 11 rebound, double-double. 2 for 6 from 3, 9 for 11 from the free throw line. Yeah, he pretty much single-handedly kept Oregon in this game. I mean, they had 3 guys scoring double figures. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're an Oregon fan, you're disappointed by the loss, but that can't possibly have a better inaugural game than from a transfer than that.
Yeah.
Other than winning the game, can't get much better. Speaking of double-double,
Let's hear it.
Tillman almost got a double-double, and that was another thing, kind of a key to the game, key to the season that we talked about was like, I just don't think we need to expect that Tillman's going to go out and score 20 points in a game or anything. He's capable of that, but he kind of just did exactly what we needed him to do. He scored like 10 or 12 points, and he had like 9 rebounds and played great defense. Like
without fouling.
Yeah, we were talking about that a lot last night where he didn't over pursue. He didn't like swing his arms around violently to get blocks and stuff. He just stood his ground and did what he could to just absorb contact and
just make it difficult
and not foul. Yeah, he had a great game.
Yeah, I feel like we need him. We need to be able to expect him to be right around a double-double. Now, if it's 6 points and 12 rebounds, great. If it's 12 points and 7 rebounds, awesome. Just in that range, in both of those stats is where we need him to be. And we need him on the floor for 30 minutes a game.
Yeah. Seems like in almost every good game he has, he's one of those he receives like some interior pass with multiple guys on him and he just dunks it somehow.
Yeah.
He had one of those last night.
He gets the ball above the rim so fast.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, is 2 points on the board.
Remember that rebound he had that he like brought it down? It looked like a tennis ball.
Yeah. He just
goodness.
Snatched out of the air with one hand. Man. I was looking at the rotations a little bit, and we really just had 7 guys. I mean, and even at that, Kobe Brown only played 15 minutes, even though he was a starter. So it was the starting 5 that we already knew: Drew Smith, Mark Smith, Xavier Pinson, Kobe Brown, and Jeremiah Tillman. And then Mitchell Smith, we knew he was going to get more playing time. Konzo said that he only played 11 minutes against Oral Roberts because he was a little under the weather. So Mitchell Smith ended up with 25 minutes, and then Javon Pickett at 21. So that was the rotation, basically.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Play your best players. Sometimes I think in the past we've tried to play 10 guys and it can backfire. Just put the most productive players out there. And, I love Kobe Brown, but in certain games he just might not have the best matchup. And I like playing Mitchell Smith more over Kobe Brown last night because, Oregon was pretty long inside.
Mm-hmm.
They had some big guys, and sometimes it's just not a great matchup for certain guys. Kobe's a little undersized, and he got out and shot a few threes and stuff, but on the interior, he was just a little bit outmatched at times in that game. And I'm totally fine with getting Mitchell Smith in there, which he's just so much taller and longer.
And then you still have a solid guard in Drew Buggs to just spell a ball handler every once in a while. He played more minutes against Oral Roberts, but he only played 9 against Oregon. And then you've got a solid interior player in Parker Brown who can come in and provide some relief. It's leaving Torrance Watson as just like kind of the odd man out who there's just, unless multiple guards are in foul trouble or Mark Smith is, just completely off, but I feel like he's the type of guy that you just let him keep shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know where you get Torrance Watson some minutes here.
Yeah, it's a bummer for him. It's just kind of a crowded guard position.
I guess I would hope that he could. I guess if it was a perfect world, he would be making shots consistently enough to outplay Javon Pickett for those minutes.
Yeah, Pickett just doesn't always look real great when he's out there, but he can finish, and he plays hard all the time, and he really had a good game last night.
Yeah, I mean, he was only 1 for 4 from 3. The 3 that he made was huge, though.
He just got a guy right in his face.
Yeah, he was just finishing those layups, though, on those fast breaks and those, breaking the pressure.
Yeah.
Ended up with 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably about as good as we're going to get, honestly, from Pickett. If he did that every game, I mean, that would be incredible. But I agree. I mean, Pickett and Watson both. I mean, that's probably where Watson's going to get more minutes. Is if Pickett's not having a good game, then maybe that's where he has an opportunity. But Pickett was kind of closing that opportunity last night because he was justifiably getting a lot of minutes.
Yeah. Yep. We did see Jordan Wilmore for 1 minute.
I'm not even sure it was a full minute.
Yeah.
I don't even think he played an offensive possession.
Potentially not. No, Jeremiah Tillman was right back in the game very quickly. But it's just, I don't know. It's good to see this squad it's just good to see them score 83 points, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, the offense was a disaster at times last year, and it honestly seems like they've carried some of that late season momentum where Drew Smith and Xavier Pinson just kind of ran the show. It seems like they've carried that momentum into this season, at least in the first 2 games.
100%.
So looking at Missouri's schedule, and Kyle, I want to do a new segment here when we talk about basketball, and it's literally just Missouri in the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Right now,
like trivia or something?
No, just
they in?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Because I'm desperate for Missouri to be in the NCAA tournament.
Like if the season ended today?
Yes.
After a week?
Yes. Are they in?
Yeah.
Okay. They've got a resume building win.
They did.
There against Oregon. And
stop the count.
Yes. Yeah. In the season here. Literally, we were watching the game, and there's like 15 minutes left, and we both were at the same time realized.
I kind of heard you do a little sigh.
Yes. And I was thinking, and you were thinking at the same time, it's going to be a long 15 minutes.
I forgot how stressful like good basketball games are.
Especially holding on to a lead.
Yeah, that's like the worst possible.
When you're down and you're just like, okay, well.
Yeah, how can having a double-digit lead be this uncomfortable?
Yes. But when Missouri's down by 3 points, I'm just like, well, there goes that game, When they're
like
up
the
by,
first half,
Yeah.
like, it's over.
when they're up by 15, I'm like, well, it's only a matter of time.
We've been hurt so many times. We're so damaged.
Yeah. I feel like, though, like, how could any fan base, when you're an underdog especially, you get up to an early lead, you're just always thinking there's way too much time. This lead is going to evaporate. And I don't know. I don't think it would take a lot of winning.
Yeah.
to
Well,
get over
Oregon
that
started
feeling.
going on a couple of those runs, and we were just like, here it is.
Yeah.
Like, here it comes.
But Missouri had an answer.
Yeah.
So Missouri in the tournament field right now, we think. Undefeated. Got a quadrant 1 win. Be rooting for Oregon the rest of the way. And a manageable SEC slate. Although,
Yeah, the SEC is looking, at least like a week into the season, looking a little weaker than overall we thought that it might look.
but that just means you're going to have to win more of those games. I
True.
mean,
Yeah, that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, if your conference is weak. I mean, we saw some weak SEC conferences, like I'm thinking like Frank Haith era, first 2 seasons in the SEC.
Yeah.
That was a totally different conference, and you needed to win 11 or 12 games in conference to get in the NCAA tournament. I don't think it's quite that bad this year, but there's been other seasons where you could just go 9-9 and have a decent shot. I think this is closer to that type of season. I was looking at one of our favorite websites, Bart Torvik, and he's got Missouri all the way up to number 36.
Ooh. He always likes Missouri a little more than Ken Palm.
He does. And he's got the Tigers as a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
So that would be...
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Bart Torvik, he really likes the experience. Like that's, I feel like that just is such a big thing in his predictive metrics is he just really loves old teams. At least with Missouri, that seems like it's been the case.
And hopefully that is even more important than usual this year.
Yeah.
So looking ahead at Missouri's schedule, they play Wichita State on Sunday, and then they play Liberty on Wednesday.
Pretty sure Liberty beat somebody
They beat somebody probably.
recently. Maybe an SEC team.
Oh, yeah. 2 of them.
Mississippi State?
They beat Mississippi State and South Carolina.
Mississippi State fraudulent in both sports.
Classic. Producer Professor Cameron, is school over? School out for summer?
Almost, but not quite.
Oh.
I had my last class, but
Do you have
Finals.
school-related
he'll cancel it.
obligations next Thursday?
no.
Wow. Because Liberty and Missouri play on Wednesday.
We're about to be back in the swing of things.
Yeah, it's gonna be hot and heavy with ball games here in the next week. Kyle, before we talk about Wichita State and Liberty, I gotta ask you a question. Do you remember last week on the episode we did a little thing called the 3-on-3 draft?
Oh, yeah.
How'd the results of the Twitter poll come?
Oh, I won. Landslide. I genuinely 100% forgot to tweet it out.
And it's obvious to me it's because you're scared of what the results will be.
No, absolutely not.
All right, well.
I'll tweet it out right now tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I forgot about it too until I was doing, prepping the show, and I was like, I don't think he ever tweeted that out. He's scared of my team.
You have a nice squad. I'll give you
Wow.
that. I don't even remember what mine is.
I don't remember who my third player is. I think it's Torrance Watson.
Ooh, I better tweet it out
Yeah.
before the next game when he
Yeah.
drains like 8 threes.
Right. Anyway, had to get that off my chest. I think you're scared. What are you thinking about Wichita State and Liberty? Let's take a look at Wichita State, what they've been doing this year. Oh, yeah, they
Hugh
played
Freeze
Oral
have been
Roberts.
great.
Huh?
Hugh Freeze have been great.
At Liberty?
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, we just don't know that much about Wichita State.
They only beat Oral Roberts by 5.
Yeah.
Missouri beat them by a lot more than 5.
Yeah.
Obviously, their new coach is Isaac Brown. It's not.
Greg Marshall.
Yeah. He was
He
relieved
gone.
of his duties and paid a bunch of money.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like an obscene amount of
A
money.
lot of
like
money.
$8 million or something. Like
you were borderline abusive or just full out abusive.
yes,
And so we're needing to fire you for creating a hostile work environment and also here's a bunch of money.
You did enough criminal acts to literally cause us to breach the contract. Here's $8 million to go away.
Makes no sense.
Man.
Anyways, yeah, we just don't know much about them. Mass exodus of players in the last couple seasons. They're probably still decent, but I think Missouri really ought to win this game.
Yeah.
Is it at Wichita State?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's going to add a level of difficulty.
Yes. Wichita State 97th in KenPom, right at 100 in both rankings, offense and defense efficiency. Really, though, they have a couple areas on defense that I think Missouri can exploit. They didn't turn Oral Roberts over at all, basically.
That's been a key metric that we've looked at closely the last couple of years.
They also gave up a high percentage of offensive rebounds to Oral Roberts, who I don't remember being extremely, long and tall. And they also gave up a very high three-point shooting percentage. Oral Roberts shot over 40% from three against Wichita State. So if that translates and comes across to their game against Missouri,
Hello, Mark Smith.
yes, then yeah, I'll take all the offensive rebounds, low turnover, and high three-point shooting games you can get me.
It'll be interesting to see this season, like how the difficulty of like what the winning percentage is of home teams versus a normal year. Because obviously some teams will maybe still have fans. I think Mizzou is still going to have like a capacity of 3,000, which is actually a decent number. But with teams that don't have a lot of fans in the stands, it'll be interesting to see how that affects games and if that eases that level of difficulty maybe for the road team.
Yeah, I was looking at Liberty's schedule here. They, interestingly, are dead last in adjusted tempo.
Oh, my.
Third from last. Of course, Virginia is last. We should have known that. Third from last in adjusted tempo. And they've played...
It's a strategy.
They've played 5 games already.
Really?
So that's not like it's a relatively a small sample size, but they've played Purdue. We talked about Mississippi State, South Carolina. They lost to TCU. So they've played, different opponents from different conferences and different styles, and it's all been slow. And they're ranked 113th on offense, 133rd on defense. That's a game you just you have to win it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to still be in our, if you want us to be able to say that you're still in the NCAA tournament next week.
So we want to say yes.
I'm really eyeing a 4-0 start going into the Illinois game. Illinois just lost to Baylor and was not close in the second half.
No, I watched pretty much that whole second half, and it feels weird to root for Illinois, but I do want them to be highly ranked when we play them and beat them, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about it a little bit last night.
A lot easier to root for Oregon than Illinois.
Yeah, it's like I was torn all year last year after we won the bragging rights game. Like, okay, well, I want Illinois to do well, I guess, for Mizzou's sake, but I don't like to root for them either.
So we need to pick the outcome of 2 games here, Wichita State and Liberty. I'm picking wins in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that let me look at Wichita State's tempo. Only 1 game against Oral Roberts, and it's right about
pretty
the same
high scoring.
Right about the same as Missouri's. I hope that Missouri can play their style against Liberty.
Yeah.
And if Liberty doesn't want to get out and run, then Missouri should make them pay. Looks like Liberty may be the victim of a short bench here. Looks like they've got 3 guys that play about 80% of the minutes.
I'll give you the predictions you seek.
Let's hear it.
I'll say Mizzou beats Wichita State 87-77. And they beat Liberty 70-59.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So
You always say that.
I agree with you completely on those predictions.
I'm just nailing these.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't even,
how you perceive these predictions.
I wouldn't even venture another guess of score because that's what
We'll just make that our overall
on
prediction.
point, yes.
Okay, thank you, man.
Is Missouri just going to keep rolling? Are we gonna reconvene next week with 3 more wins to talk about?
Yeah, we're in a great spot right now. It's just a lot of good stuff all around. Hopefully that doesn't come to a screeching
It
halt.
could come crashing down at any minute.
Yes. But yeah, things feel great right now, and
I'm
just
ready for
living the
that
dream.
Arkansas game.
I'm so ready.
Oof.
I am ready for the social media meltdown. I'm ready for Nick Bolton to have 15 tackles and
I'm
a
predicting
sack
an
and interception.
Yeah. Maybe will he pick six? Maybe.
I hope.
Interception. For
Might
sure.
need it
Yeah.
if Mizzou's offense is not doing well.
Yeah. Is that the whole show here?
I think that's the. What do they say?
I don't
The
know.
whole something.
That's the whole shebang.
The whole
well,
kit and caboodle.
That's what I was trying to think of, but I was like, I'm not even gonna try to say whatever those words are.
I thought that might be what you were going for, and I was
was
hoping it wasn't.
I was hoping that one of you two were gonna say it, so I could be like, "That's it," so I could finish the sentence. But all right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this thing up. You can just saw your little eyebrow raise, like, okay, that was a little too dramatic.
Are you gonna post the 3-on-3
Yeah,
poll?
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we trust him?
I'll do it.
It better be out.
I'll do
there.
it tomorrow.
And
What's
you better
tomorrow?
vote for me.
I may not do it tomorrow because we got to post the podcast link
True.
tomorrow.
You don't wanna
we don't want to
oversaturate
double.
the
We don't want to
market.
double post.
Yeah.
Okay, you can find this podcast
Already making excuses.
on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find. I sure would like to. Please come buy our shirts. You can find our shirts and stickers. They're really cool on our shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com. And if you want to watch the game with me, since these guys don't, let me know.
We can explain.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Everyone.